everybody, it's Mike, and I'm back for some more cult deprogramming. Free online cult deprogramming by me. It's Mike, and I was in the Hare Krishnas for 20 years, spent 20 years in that goddamn cult, and I'm here to help you get out of the cult. If you're in the Hare Krishnas, I can help you get out. Scientology, it's all the same, it doesn't matter. I don't care what cult you're in, but it's all a bunch of BS, and you need to get get your ass out of there, get your life back, whatever rest of your life you have, you need to get it back and get out of that goddamn cult. So I'm here to help you, and I got a video that we can watch, a couple videos, and I'll talk about them, and I'll relate the video to my experience in the Hare Krishnas, and hopefully that'll help you realize what happened to you, and just come to grips with it and just get out. I mean, really, just get out. That's it. Just get out. Okay, so let's see. Let me do this. There we go. Yeah, you can visit my webpage at itsmikesandoval.com, and you can check out my radio show as well on bkk1radio.com. All right, so get rid of this. How do I get rid of this? Okay, so I want to show you this video so you can understand a little bit about cults. Explain a little bit better. I get excited and I get emotionally involved because I was in a cult. But you can see this video from someone who's just presenting facts. It has nothing to do with whether they were in or out, anything. It's just pure facts. And so hopefully you can learn something from this, because like the next video is going to show, no one joins a cult on purpose. Nobody wakes up and goes, I'm going to go join. You didn't. You definitely didn't. You didn't get up and go, let me go find a Hare Krishna so I can go join the Hare Krishnas. Let me go find a Scientologist so I can go join the Scientology. Let me go find a Jehovah's Witness so I can go join the Jehovah's. Nobody does that. So you're not, you're not alone. And I was in it 20 years. That's a long time. 20 years is a long time. Wasn't 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. 10 years is a long time. Now double that. 20 years. I was in it for 20 years. I heard it all. All the stories, all the history, all the garbage, all the lies. All the lies. I can't emphasize enough about how many lies I heard while I was in the Hare Krishnas. Lies about everything. And one of the biggest lies, the most dangerous lies, is that everything bad about the Hare Krishnas had happened in the past. That's the biggest, most dangerous lie, because nothing is in the past. It's all in the here and now. Nothing. There was never a time when anything changed. Now, they might want to talk about, well, the people in there aren't following They're following. They're doing exactly what it says in the books to do. It's all there. They just want to blame somebody and not recognize that it's a dangerous cult. How can you document every horrible friggin' thing for 60 years of just bullshit. Different people doing the same things. Everybody believing the same things. It's not bad people coming into the cult. It's the cult creates mental illness. It creates criminal mentality. It creates extreme. It's like it's it's radicalization. People who join the Hare Krishnas, it's no different than people joining ISIS or the Taliban. This guy, the brother of somebody in the chat, who joined and went off to go milk a cow in India for his guru, who's going to take him to higher levels, whatever that is. Ask him, what higher level of what? But anyway, that's no different than somebody joining ISIS or Taliban and running off to Afghanistan to go whatever they do. It makes no that it doesn't make any more sense. It's insanity. These people, their schools are notorious places where kids were tortured and molested, raped, boys, girls, teenagers, toddlers, girls married off to old men. Where's that? The parents, the teachers, everybody, the gurus are molesting the kids. I mean, the whole thing is just reeks. And the founder is the one who created the whole thing. It's in his books. He's the one that said the kids had to go to these schools. It's in his books that you have to send your kid to these schools. It's the 5,000-year-old tradition. It's the Vedic culture. It's all blah, 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 blah. So these parents are brainwashed into thinking they got to send their kids to this friggin' boarding school or move to India to milk a cow. But it's not to milk a cow. It's to believe in this extremist radical philosophy that little girls before they're even Prabhupada says before puberty, girls have to get married. They have to. And if there's not enough men can have more than one wife, more than one little girl. Men can have more than one. This is disgusting crap. These people are indoctrinated. They're radicalized into thinking this woman, her little girl, these aren't even women. This woman had her little girl raped at a Hare Krishna commune at one of their festivals. The girl was raped. And then they punished the little girl. Why? Because it's always the woman's fault. So then they take the girl and they marry her off to some grown man at 13 years old. That's what this cult is about. This guy's over there milking a cow in India, but in reality, what he believes in the philosophy and what this cult is about little girls becoming the wives of these grown men. And then deluded grown men thinking that when they die, they're going to become a little girl so God can have an orgy with these little girls. The fuck? Conjugal love is what they're talking about. We all know what conjugal love is. You can't tell me it's spiritual and not sexual when they're talking about conjugal love. You can tell me that when a prisoner in jail has a conjugal visit they're not. It's not sex. It's a conjugal visit. It's sex. It's Rasa Leela. What the hell? They want to cover up their disgusting shit any which way they can. But it's easy to see. It's easy to see. It's like right there. That's what this cult is. It's like Scientology. Why do little kids have to audit adults? Like, why? You don't have enough adults to do that? If that's not grooming, I don't know what is. You got little kids talking to grown adults about sex and their secret sex habits. That's not grooming? A little kid? That's sexual abuse. Little kids shouldn't be doing that. Little kids need to be having a childhood. It's just, these cults, you didn't join a cult to do all that, but somehow you got sucked into it. I didn't. As soon as I realized what was going on, I was gone. Gone. As soon as they started defending this child marriage, as soon as I brought up child marriage and started asking questions and going, because there had to be a reason why everybody was acting everybody in the cult acts the same. They have the same views. Don't think that the leadership is the ones that have the weird views and everybody else. No! The leadership lets the pedophiles and the predators hang out in the community, and the community lets the predators hang out in the community. They're all together. It's all one big shit show. I had no idea that this guy that molested this little girl I had no idea this shit was going on, and this guy's in the community, and he's just wandering around. He's wandering around interacting with anybody and anybody. And then I find out he molested this little girl. And that's why he's never allowed in the temple or in the kitchen. But anywhere else he could go. He could go anywhere else. And I didn't know. Nobody told me, hey, that guy over there is... No. In fact, he was friends with my friends. And they didn't tell me, hey, that's the guy. Not only that, but he was involved in the Robin George. He was involved in the Robin George case in the 70s. He's been a shady character his whole time. Because Robin George was like 14 or 15. And he was involved in that. Guy was shady from day one. And he's still 20 years later, he's still hanging out in the community, molesting little kids like it's... It just... And these guys are defending child marriage? To me? I got an 11-year-old daughter, and you're trying to tell me that 11-year-old girls make the best wives, that's Vedic culture? Guy's telling me Vedic culture is 11-year-old girls getting married to grown men, that's and it's in Prabhupada's books. I didn't even realize. I had to go back and find. It's brainwashing. It is. I don't know how to explain it, man. But you're in it. I'm telling you the truth. I had to figure this all out myself. I had to connect all these dots myself. I'm telling you, so you don't have to connect it. You can go right to Google. You can go right to Prabhupada's books and go, well, I heard that Prabhupada said some things about the Negroes, and type it in yourself in search. I heard that Prabhupada said some things about women liking to be. Find out. Look yourself. I know a lot of you don't want to know the truth. You don't want to know the truth.
I've been talking about how cults operate for a long time, so I figured we'd take a look at Google's most searched questions about cults and see if we can find the answer. Let's get into it. The first question we've got is how cults work. This one is a little abstract, so let's take a look at the next few questions and see if they answer it for us. The next one is how cults brainwash. There are a few top people in the field of cult research. Back in the 60s, a guy named Robert J. Lifton wrote a book called Thought Reform and the Psychology of Totalism. American soldiers were being captured by the Chinese, and a few months later, a video would surface of the US soldiers saying all this great stuff about the Chinese government and communism, and a bunch of negative propaganda about the US government.
My name is Harold Webb from West Palm Beach, Florida. My name is Aaron Wilson from Urania, Louisiana. This is a very happy moment for me, for now I am free from McCarthyism. Friends, the only way to stop fascism in America is to do as I have done, stand up and fight for our rights.
My name is Louis Griggs, and my home is at Jacksonville, Texas. I stayed behind to escape the Red Bait and McCarthy, and to assure that I'll never again have to fight in another unjust war as I did in Korea. Even if I had wanted repatriation, the fates of Dickinson and Batchelor would have stopped me.
My name is Richard Tennyson. I live in Alden, Minnesota. People who hate war and stand up for their beliefs are faced with McCarthy and his fascist gut-controlled House Un-Americans Activities Committee. I will return someday when I can speak for peace lawfully.
How'd they get to that point? These people were born and raised in the US. They had family in the US. The answer is they were brainwashed. So Robert Lifton set his mind to understanding how it happened. You should give the book a read if you're really interested, but here's the short answer. They used a combination of negative and positive reinforcement to change the soldier's personality until it matched what they wanted it to be.
If you're a native or fluent English-speaking Western expat living in Thailand, and you're looking for a new online career that enables you to earn a Western rate income, often around 4 to 6.
The Chinese would treat the prisoners of war really well. That challenged their perception of the situation. They were trained to view the Chinese as the enemy. Now that they changed their perception, they needed to change their behavior. What you do on the outside is reflected on the inside, and vice versa. So they'd offer little things to the soldiers if they were willing to say something good about the Chinese Communist Party.
Okay, so I have to stop right there because the Hare Krishnas, I only know the Hare Krishnas, but I know all cults work the same. So one of the first things they do is they have to change your perception of the Hare Krishnas. Like, so when you get a book, or when you got a book, or for you that are learning about the Hare Krishnas, when if you were to get a book, so the first thing they're going to tell you is that it's not a cult. And the ways they convince you of that is that they tell you this is Indian culture, it's coming from India, it's 5,000 years old, it's Vedic culture, it comes from the Vedas, and they get you in that way, right? And they go, well, you know, that it's like Hinduism, but it's not Hinduism, but it's just it's like fundamental Hinduism, right? It's like hardcore culty Hinduism. But the first thing they want you to do is they want you to stop thinking that it's a cult in the way that we think of cults, like Scientology, and they want you to think it's just Indian culture. And they even say, it's not a cult, it's culture. It's cult means culture. It's Indian culture. It's Vedic culture, not cult culture. So they change your perception that the Hare Krishnas are not a cult. That's the first step, and it's exactly what he's saying. So once they got you in and you're not thinking it's a cult, you're thinking, oh, it's Indian history, it's Indian mythology, it's Indian culture, it's Vedic culture, it's very old, it's ancient, it's Bhagavad Gita, blah, blah, blah. Then now you're open. to modifying your behavior and reinforcing the rest of it. But that's how it begins with Hare Krishna. It's absolutely how it begins.
Offer them so much that they could justify doing it to their friends. Like if they'd offered the soldiers freedom just to say something nice about the CCP, then it might be a justifiable trade-off. It would be little things, like cigarettes. They'd say if you write an essay where you say one good thing about the US and one good thing about the CCP, then we'll give you 5 cigarettes. That would make this stay a little more pleasant for them, and it's just one thing, so why not? They'd do it. Then they'd have them write one bad thing about the US and one bad thing about the CCP. They'd take those essays and hang them up all over the camp. When asked about it, what's the person gonna say? They turned into a traitor for a few cigarettes? They'd go in defense mode and make up some story about why they wrote it, and it would open their friends up to the idea that it wasn't so bad. They wanted them to own what they'd done. Slowly but surely, they'd modify people's behavior with rewards and punishments, effectively programming in a new personality. They get you to go this far. What about a little further? Can they get you to talk to a CO about the good qualities about China if they give you an extra pillow to sleep with? What's the big deal? Over the course of months, slowly but surely, they managed to re-educate POWs and turn them into advocates for communism. Fundamentally, that's how cults work too. They isolate you from friends and family, make you reliant and obedient to them, and then modify your behavior until your personality is a reflection of what they want it to be. So in a nutshell, that's how cults brainwash people. And I think that covers the next question too. How do cults rewire the brain? Let's take a look at the next one. How do cults recruit? This one includes some level of manipulation too. Usually cults look for people who might be in an emotionally vulnerable situation. Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, will go on Twitter and search for any references to death in the family. And then when they find somebody at their weakest point, they strike. Drop links to articles on their website, or they'll tell them there's still a chance to see the person again. Other groups go about it in a different way. The Moonies cult goes to college campuses and appeals to people's interest in higher education. They tell them they have a workshop or a seminar they want.
Okay, so both of those things are exactly what Hare Krishnas do, although I have to say it's a misconception about getting people who are vulnerable or prying on vulnerable people. Now, maybe the Jehovah's Witnesses do scan the obituaries and look for families that have lost a loved one, and so then therefore they go for those people. But and maybe that's true. Maybe that's a practice that they use. I don't know. And if it is, I'm not saying they don't. But my thing is, everybody in life has ups and downs. Everybody in life has ups and downs. And it doesn't matter whether you're up or you're down. Celebrities get caught up in cults, and people who are going through distress. I mean, everybody's going through something. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how famous you are, how poor you are, what your situation in life is. Everybody suffers a loss. Everybody, like I said, everybody loses a pet. Everybody loses a loved one. Everyone loses a parent. Everyone loses a job. Everybody leaves their purse or loses their wallet or can't find their keys or their car breaks down and any one of those things that causes you to have some kind of reaction to those problems, that's perfect because that's karma. And the Hare Krishna, it's all about karma. And to where anything, and as soon as they're talking to you about, they're going to talk to you, they're going to mention karma. Things happen, and you're going to think, yeah, I lost that job. Oh, yeah, my car broke down that time in the death. Whatever it is, everybody's got something. And anybody can relate it to anything. That's why anybody's vulnerable. Of course, somebody who is going through a loss, a death, lost a job, if that just happened and you got a book that day, then yeah, you're going to be very vulnerable because, maybe you're looking for, I don't know. I never had that happen. But for me, I wasn't looking for anything. That's why I know. I didn't have any significant event happen. I wasn't vulnerable. I wasn't searching for the light. None of that. So anyone can fall victim to a cult. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. And the worst thing that you can have is what everybody wants to have, is an open mind. Well, maybe Scientology isn't so bad. Maybe it's just, let me figure it out for myself. Let me do my own research. Let me check out the Hare Krishna. Let me read the book and see. Let me get Dianetics and see. That's exactly what they want. They want you to have this open mind so that they can fish you in. And then, like you said, it's just shatter your conception that it's a cult, and then that's the first step to modifying your behavior.
To attend. And it's completely free. It'll teach you about high-level ideas. They try to appeal to curiosity. Interestingly enough, that's how some far-right organizations do their recruiting too. They appeal to people's egos and make them feel like they're above everybody else if they just join this group. Anyways, here's the next one. How are cults formed? This one is complicated. I came up with some of this myself after years of studying and learning about this. But in my experience, cults usually come in 3 flavors. They're what I call decentralized and non-focused, decentralized but focused, and centralized and hierarchical. Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3, in that order. Cults can't be categories like Christianity or Islam. They have to be specific, distinct groups, like Scientology, Heaven's Gate, or Jonestown. Decentralized, non-focused cults are groups that don't really have much of a leadership, or didn't start out with one. They just kind of sprang up out of nothing. Usually they start on social media. A good example would be flat earthers, anti-vax mom groups, or certain vegan groups. Then we have decentralized but focused groups. This would be your cult of personality. Groups in this category usually have little to no direct contact with their leader, but the leader is one specific person who spreads an ideology to others. Outside of that structure, it still has to operate like a cult to be considered one. Joe Biden has an ideology he disseminates to others, but the members aren't experiencing personality modification, the hallmark of every cult. In a cult of personality, the person's followers will take their word over hard evidence. Like, for example, Trump supporters who refuse to accept that Biden won, even to this day. Richard Spencer, Teal Swan, and even QAnon would be considered level 2 cults, decentralized but focused. But Q, the leader of QAnon, seems to have gone away. They haven't made new posts since the election. So QAnon has kind of morphed from a level 2, decentralized but focused, to a level 1, decentralized and non-focused. Then we have level 3 cults, centralized and hierarchical. This category includes all your traditional cults, Jehovah's Witnesses, Heaven's Gate, the People's Temple, aka Jonestown, Scientology, and others. Usually there's a strict hierarchy with distinct leadership and generals who speak for the leader and take direct control over their subordinates. Jehovah's Witnesses have a governing body who claim to get guidance from God about what their ideology should be, and then they pass that information down to the generals. They call them district and circuit overseers, and they pass it down to the members too, through their Watchtower and Awake magazines and other reading materials. If somebody steps out of line, they're punished for it. That's the kind of thing you can expect from cults. Now, at the start of this section, I said some of this stuff is original to me.
Okay, so what you just said about that is the Hare Krishna. So the Hare Krishnas have this governing body, commission, this GBC, and they make the rules, they make the decisions, they do all of that, and then they disseminate that information down through the gurus and temple presidents and their publications and their web pages and everything else. And if you go against their teachings or what the GBC says, there's repercussions. You can be banned, you can be kicked out, and they don't want that. It's not like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to quit being, because to them, they've been brainwashed into thinking that this is everything. There is nothing else. There is absolutely nothing else, and this is it. So let's go back and see some more.
About different cults, decentralized and focused, and decentralized and non-focused, were my ideas. The study of centralized and hierarchical cults has been around for a very long time and is well studied by experts. So back to the question, how are cults formed? It depends on the cult and the type of cult. Decentralized, non-focused cults usually form through social media. When there's no clear leadership, a hierarchy usually forms organically. In the Flat Earth movement, some voices have floated to the top, and they're responsible for presenting the supposed at best arguments for the group. The more extreme you are, the more upvotes you get. It's a vicious cycle of desperately trying to get approval from the people around you. And before you know it, you have a small chain of people who are the most respected out of everybody else because they devote the most time and energy to the cause. Everybody looks to them and tries to emulate them. That's how decentralized, non-focused cults form. Cult
การขายส่งท้ายปีอย่างเป็นทางการของ Citizen
Another commercial here.
ได้เริ่มขึ้นแล้ว
Okay.
Cults of personality seem pretty straightforward. Usually it comes from somebody who's particularly charismatic and thinks they're a little smarter than they are. They form out a lens they use to view the world, and they pass that lens down to others, like Jordan Peterson, for example, or Donald Trump, or Teal Swan. As for centralized hierarchical cults, the common perception is that these start as religions, but that doesn't always have to be the case. Scientology did not start as a religion. It's a psychology cult, not a religious cult. Same with Heaven's Gate. It wasn't really a religious cult. It was a UFO cult. These groups commonly integrate religion into the belief system, usually to avoid taxes, as in Scientology's case, but not always. They usually start as small groups of friends who have common beliefs, and they start getting more and more extreme until they go completely off the deep end. Anyways, let's look at the next question on the list. The next question is, how do cults become religions? That's an interesting question. The implication is that every religion started out as a cult, a premise I completely disagree with. Not all cults are religions, and not all religions are cults. But I'm guessing this came from that bit from the Joe Rogan comedy routine where he says, in a cult, they follow everything this guy says, and in a religion, that guy is dead. It's a good joke, but it doesn't match the science. Religions and cults aren't the same. Next question. How do cults make money? This obviously varies from group to group, but as I mentioned earlier, lots of cults try to achieve tax-exempt status any way they can. And in some cases, the quickest and easiest way to do that is to turn yourself into a religion. Ad revenue is a pretty popular way to make money, so some decentralized, non-focused cults will start YouTube channels or Facebook pages. Cults of personality will profit off of merchandising and donations from the adherents. But centralized and hierarchical cults, that one is the most interesting. Again, they'll usually profit from merchandising, ad revenue, all the same stuff as the others, but they'll usually have another operation on the side. Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, have to learn how to survive with basically zero donations from the members because they discourage their members from going to college or otherwise investing in their future because they think the end is so close. As an ex-Jehovah's Witness, I was told it was going to happen any 5 minutes now, since I was born. So how do they do it? They encourage their members to learn trades since the...
Okay, so I just want to say Hare Krishnas do the same thing. They say that the end, the end times, that Kali Yuga is advancing. This is how they put it. And when you think about it in this way, Hare Krishna really is kind of a doomsday cult because they believe that Kali Yuga is advancing, that the age is degrading, and everything's getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until finally it's going to just be so bad that everyone's going to have to become a Hare Krishna just to survive. And so there's no reason to go to school. There's no reason to really do anything other than just go milk a cow on a farm somewhere, open a farm community with some land so you can grow your own food, have your cows so you can have milk and have your temple, and that's their plan for surviving Armageddon, is having these farm communities where they will be self-sufficient, kind of like Mad Max or something, I guess. I don't know what they think, but that is their plan. So they have the same idea, like you should just go to India and milk a cow, learn how to milk a cow, learn how to do this, and learn higher. Their whole philosophy is simple living, higher thinking. So to them, simple living is living on a farm and milking a cow and growing food, which is a lot of work. That's not simple life. They built a lot of farm equipment and machinery and things so that farmers don't have to work so hard. Tractors and things that harvest and all kind. Nobody wants to go out there picking strawberries and fruit or picking corn or whatever. Nobody wants to do that. That's a lot of work. People doing that in India, that's their job, that's their life, that's their job. It's like everybody doesn't want to do that. That's not what people don't want to do. That having a cow, I just can't stress how ridiculous how much work it is to have cows and bulls. These people in Badger, I went up there to visit them. My friends lived in Badger, California, outside Visalia. It's like in Kings Canyon or Sequoia National Park, wherever it's in that area. And these guys had some cows and some bulls on their land, and they were like, the guys didn't want to be farmers. I mean, they want to be Hare Krishnas. They don't want to be farmers. That's not what they wanted. Nobody wants to do all that hard work. Even just driving the tractor around and doing that's hard work. But doing it by hand in a little farm community, getting up early and going to the temple and doing all, and then working all day just to feed the cow. You got to grow food just for the cow to eat. You know how much food a cow eats every day? You got a cow and a bull. And probably some babies and some calves, right? I mean, that's what these people did. You got to feed these cows, the cow, the bull, and the baby. And I don't know if you've ever been around cows, but they don't do a whole lot except eat all day. They eat a lot. So you either have land and growing food for them to eat, or you got to buy food for them to eat. And then you got to grow your own food. So now you're just doing like double work. Why? Why all that work? Because they think the world's going to end. They think the world's going to end. So they got to do this. It's so important that they do this. Open these farm communities. Get this land and have these, go milk a cow in India. I've been to India. I know what that's like.
Because when Armageddon happens, all the loyal Jehovah's Witnesses will be left on Earth to rebuild afterward, and will never die after Armageddon strikes. So we won't need doctors or lawyers or politicians or any of that. What we'll need is people who know carpentry and plumbing. And conveniently, Jehovah's Witnesses use those skills now to generate money for the organization. They'll do what they call a quick build, where they have a congregation of 100 Jehovah's Witnesses come in and build a brand new kingdom hall from the ground up in a weekend. If they need to, they'll pay for the building materials and the land, but more often than not, even those things are donated. Then they'll move all the Jehovah's Witnesses into the new kingdom hall they just built, and they'll sell off the old kingdom hall and properties. They were real tight on money a few years back because of all the lawsuits they were facing, so they sold off their entire headquarters in New York City. Some estimates say they got around $1.3 billion for it. Holy shit. Anyways, they had these people come in and build a brand new headquarters in a cheap...
So the Hare Krishna had to do the same thing. They lost that $400 million lawsuit. The settlement got busted down, but they still had to pay something, and they ended up, I believe they ended up selling off some properties to pay. They also wanted each temple to raise money to help. Can you imagine that? They wanted the people themselves, the ordinary people that just go to the temple, members, to pay for their organizational lawsuit. Like, they couldn't just come up with the money to pay whatever the settlement was. And I remember when this happened, because I was in there when it happened. They wanted, every temple was supposed to raise like so much, 15,000, I don't know what the amount was, but let's just say each temple was supposed to raise so many thousands of dollars to give, to contribute to this settlement fund for these kids that they abused and molested.
Area, donating their free labor, and came out the other side with way more money than they started with. Other groups do it slightly differently. Scientology makes the recruits feel like they have special information that not just anybody is allowed access to. And if you want access to the special information too, you have to pay for it. It can cost up to $200,000 per person to move up the ranks to become a mid-level Scientologist, called Going Clear. If you want to reach the very top levels, it'll probably take about $500,000 to $1 million, and 2 to 5 years of work, at least. It's the perfect racket. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. Don't forget, if you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can check me out on Patreon. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my
Okay, so yeah, you can check out this video. It's How Do Cults Rewire Your Brain if you want to check it out. Owen Morgan, and he's got some other videos, I guess, and I would check them out. Shout out to him for making a great video. What I want to say is, I don't know what I wanted to say. I don't remember what I wanted to say. I got another video I wanted to show. I know what I wanted to say. This is important. So I notice on a lot of these cult videos where they're talking about cults, and they mention Scientology and Jehovah's Witness, and they mention Children of God, and they mention the Moonies, and they mention whatever, and they hardly ever mention Hare Krishna. And I don't know I don't know why that is. I don't know if they just get forgotten, if they've convinced people that they're not a cult and that they're just Hindus and I don't know what. But that's another reason why I am making sure that I can at least make my videos and say Hare Krishna is a cult. It's not Vedic culture. It's not Vedic literature. This is their books are the rantings of a lunatic who just happened to be Hindu. The lunatic cult leader who promoted child marriage, child molestation. He didn't do anything. When he found out that his kids in his school were being molested, he did nothing. He did nothing. He did nothing for the. He didn't have the molester arrested. He didn't give a shit about the kids that were molested. He didn't give a shit about the parents of the kids that got molested. He didn't give two shits about anything. Because he himself was 22 years old when he raped his 11-year-old child bride. And then he put it in his books that 11-year-old girls must be married. And if you don't have enough men, they can have more than one wife. Because all the little girls need to be married. All little girls need to be married at 11 years old. 11, even before puberty. This is in his books. This is in the Bhagavatam. This is in Prabhupada's books. Just go on PrabhupadaBooks.com and type it in. Type in the words must be married and see what pops up. Go ahead. I already did it. Type in 11-year-old girls. Type in 13-year-old girls. See what he says about that. That's what this cult is about. I can't stress it enough. How disgusting this cult is. With their sex orgy, Krishna and his gopis by the river, conjugal love, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu being in the mood of Radharani. What does the mood of Radharani mean? We know what it means. It means exactly what it sounds like. He was in the mood of a woman. He was in the mood of Krishna's girlfriend. He wanted to have sex all the time with Krishna. Dancing around, dressing up like a gopi. That's why these guys in Los Angeles, these 4 guys, including the knucklehead that runs that webpage, was dressing up like gopis. Because that's what they heard. I'm telling you, this cult, you think they would have done that if they didn't join this cult? Cults cause mental illness. They cause people to walk around with an e-meter thinking that friggin' machine is going to save the world. That it's somehow, that if a child and an e-meter and a grown man and they talk about sex or whatever, that somehow that's saving the world. That is somehow, I don't know what the hell that is doing. Just like I don't know why he says 11-year-old girls must be married. Because he doesn't trust women. He doesn't trust girls. He doesn't trust them to have human right, just to have a life, have a childhood. You're taking away an 11-year-old girl's childhood, just like that 13-year-old girl that got raped and then shipped off to India, married to some guy. This so fucking pissed me off. And people in that cult, they think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If they thought there was something wrong with it, they'd leave it. They'd leave the cult. I thought there was something wrong with it. I left. I didn't even know about the girl that got raped and married off at 13. I didn't even know about her. I found out about Prabhupada and his 11-year-old wife. Because the story in the books is that they were married when they were kids, and then they grew up, and they didn't have sex until they were adults. That's the story. But Prabhupada blows the lid off of that because he says it himself. She was 11 years old and he was 22. 22, and he repeats it in the Bhagavatam. He says, in my day, 11-year-old girls got married to 20, 25-year-old boys, and that has to happen now. That's Vedic culture. That's what he's talking about. We're not talking about this happened. He says it because he grew up in. No, he puts it in his books that needs to happen now. Now. Papa says 11-year-old girls must be married to 20 to 25-year-old men. He says that's what they did in my day, and that's the way it's supposed to be. You think he's going to admit that was wrong? No. You think he's going to admit that was wrong in 1972? No, he's saying I did the right thing. I did the right thing. I was 22 years old. She was 11 years old, and she cried. She didn't know what was going on. I made her cry. I took her hand. I made her cry. And then he laughs about it. Like it's no big deal. That's why this guy thought he could rape that girl in the middle of a festival, behind the stage, rape her, and then just go right back up on stage and play mridanga. Like, hey, I'll see you later. I gotta go lead the kirtan. That's what this friggin' disgusting cult is about. It's about abusing little girls and abusing little boys. How can it not be when you have that in the books? When you're talking about child marriage. 11 to 13-year-old girls married to grown men? What is that called? What do we call that? $11-year-old girls? You're just going to marry them off just like they did that 13-year-old girl? See, they didn't realize you're going to grow up. You know, she's 13 now. 5 years, she's going to be 18. She's going to be an adult at 18. A few more years of that, she's going to be 21. And sure enough, she's growing up. Now she's spilling the beans. She's like, let me tell you my experience. That's what this cult is about. The mother didn't even care. The mother didn't even care that her daughter got raped by some freak at this festival, and she blamed her daughter. It was her daughter's fault. Why? Because Prabhupada says it's the woman's fault. It's always the woman's fault. And besides, women like to be raped. So I guess the daughter must have liked it then. That's what they say. That's what's in the books. Prabhupada says women like rape. this guy wants little girls married to grown men. He says women like to be raped, and they think that this guy's God. They think this guy. They worship this guy God talks to him and says, "Yeah, 11-year-old." What the fuck? He thinks this is coming from God. This is how delusional this man is. This is how delusional this man is. He thinks he's in this imaginary chain of people going back to the four-headed guy that grows out of the flower on a four-armed guy who's laying on a snake that's his brother. You see how it all ties together? The craziness, the whack, the sickness, and the crazy combined? But the crazy friggin' demon head eating the moon, along with women like to be raped and marry your little girls off to grown men. Mix all that shit together. You're gonna get friggin' psychosis. You're gonna get absolute mental illness and crime. It's crazy. And these people marching in the Martin Luther King Day parade? The fuck? You think Scientology is bad, and Scientology is bad. But what do you call this? What do you call this crap? What do you call marrying little kids off to grown men? Women like to be raped. How is that part of your teaching? What is that? What good is that teaching gonna produce? You're gonna teach a bunch of men who you tell them that they can't have sex, and then in the same breath you're gonna turn around and say, yeah, you're supposed to not have sex, but you know what? Women like to be raped. The fuck? And if you can't live in the ashram and be a brahmachari, we'll hook you up with an 11-year-old girl that you can have as a wife. And you can just go off to India and milk a cow and have sex with your 11-year-old wife. Isn't that just the sickest fucking thing you ever heard? Vedic culture. Vedic culture. They want you to believe that this is thousands of years old. That this is the way life should be. And this is their vision for the world for when the Armageddon comes and they're the only people left on their farm communities, on their farm in Mississippi, on their farm in upstate New York, on their farm in northern Cal. I don't know where the fuck they got their farms. This is what this cult is all about. This is what it's all about, because their topmost level, the highest level of spiritual life, of spiritual understanding, the topmost understanding of the Goswamis, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is that you become a gopi. You become an 11-year-old, well, not, women don't. Men become an 11-year-old little girl when you reach that level, that perfect stage. You become a little 11-year-old girl, and then you get to go have sex with Krishna. That's the highest level. There's nothing higher than that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says there is no higher level of love of God than that the gopis performed. And the gopis were little 11-year-old girls who just dropped everything so they could go have a conjugal visit with Krishna. That's what it is. That's what it is. You become a little girl, Krishna kisses you. He's got betel nut in his mouth. He's got that stuff in his mouth. He kisses you, and then you get some of that. He exchanges betel nut from his mouth into your mouth. So basically, you French kiss Krishna. You get some of his betel nut. He puts that in your mouth, and then you're in total ecstasy because you actually got the betel nut from Krishna. And if you've ever been to India and you've seen these guys with their betel nut and they're spitting that shit out, the last thing you want is kissing a guy with betel nut shit in his mouth. That's the last thing you want to do. I don't even. It's friggin' disgusting. Okay. That's the highest level. This guy went off to India to milk a cow so his guru could give him the highest level realization, blah, blah, blah. I just gave it to you for free. You don't have to go to India. I just gave it to you. You just keep chanting, chant, 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 chant. And when you reach the highest level stage, you'll realize what your gopi name is. That you're whatever gopi. And then you'll be self-realized, because that's what self-realization is. Realizing who you really are. You realize who you really are. And to the Krishnas, you're really just a gopi. You're just a gopi having sex with Krishna. That's it. That's it. I gave it to you. I gave you the highest level. Free. You don't have to give me any. You don't have to give me anything. You don't have to give me some oil or incense. You don't have to offer me a flower. You don't have to wash my socks. You don't have to do anything. I just gave it to you. I gave you the highest level of realization. For free. Rune. Hey, Rune. Good to see you, man. I bet that they have one of those farms in New Vrindavan. I've seen that farm and temple in YouTube videos when Kali Yuga is where they can sit up on their Krishna prepping farms in safety. That's exactly what it's about. It's exactly what it's about. A lot of the Hare Krishnas are doomsdayers. They're doomsday people. Hey, Rune. It's so I'm so glad you're here. Hare Krishnas are doomsdayers. They're conspiracy theorists. They're really whacked out people. And I know that they didn't get that way. I know they're not that way before they joined. And and I met the guy at the temple president in L.A. Okay, I know that guy. When I was there, I knew him. I knew him for 20 years. I just see him every day, talk to him. I know the guy. And he seemed like he didn't seem like a conspiracy theorist or one of these whacked out guys or anything, but he had a jewelry business. He's got the gift shop. He's got the restaurant. He drives around in a fancy car. He dresses really nice. And I always wondered, he just seems like, and there was a couple guys just like that. Another guy who owned a business. He had like a closet building business where he'd go in and build your closet for you. I don't know, whatever he was doing. And that was a Gopal Bhatta. Gopal Bhatta died. These old Prabhupada disciples. He'd come to the temple. He'd come to the temple all dressed up in his like he got off work, and he'd have like his suit on, and he looked like a businessman. But he's Gopal Bhatta. He's a character from what I understand from his history. But anyway, some of these guys, they just seemed like they were they weren't the. There's a lot of wackies in the Hare Krishnas, right? There's a lot of these wackies, and you go, okay, well, these people, this guy's just crazy. But then this guy seems totally normal. And then there's everything in between. There's everything in between. But the normal guys, I wondered, now that I'm out, it's like, are they in it because it's a business? I mean, is this guy just in it because it's a business? I mean, the guy's making money. Or is he, how? I don't know. it's a strange community. I mean, there's so many wackies that believe in like conspiracies, and they believe in, and they tell you they believe it. And it comes from Prabhupada, because Prabhupada he doesn't understand so many things. He doesn't think they landed on the moon. He doesn't understand so many. He doesn't understand so many things. He doesn't understand that intelligence is not determined by brain size. He can't comprehend that. He can't comprehend that the technology to get to the moon is not, it is not that complicated. I mean, it was, but I mean, compared to what we're doing now, it's pretty easy. But he can't figure it out. He couldn't accept it. So many things he just didn't get, didn't understand. So I can understand people coming in, they're reading Prabhupada's books, and Prabhupada's like, well, we didn't land on the moon, and because Sunday comes before Monday. So, look, these guys are, I'm telling you, that's why I say, cults cause mental illness. They're modifying your behavior, modifying your beliefs, modifying your personality, modifying your mental state. To where if you're believing crazy stuff, you're crazy. That's the definition of it. If you believe that there's a demon head, if you believe that some demon 5,000 years ago, some demon got his head cut off, and his head went into outer space and became a planet. And when there's an eclipse, that planet is eating the moon. And you believe that is a fact and not just some story, you are crazy. You're crazy. Now you can go, hey, I like that story. There's a lot of stories people like. I like Wizard of Oz, Big Lebowski. There's a lot of stories, Star Wars, that people like. So you can like the story. But nobody runs around going, Star Wars was real. Or the Big Lebowski was real. Or Mother Goose. Or Old Mother Hubbard. Or any of these things. Nobody says, anybody came up to you and said, Darth Vader is real. And they mean it. You go, this person is crazy. This person's schizophrenic. Schizophrenic and delusional. But Hare Krishnas, no, they get to march in the Martin Luther King Day parade and spread their insanity, pretty much just infiltrating Martin Luther King Day parade. Because they have no business being there. They don't support Martin Luther King. Prabhupada called him a failure. When the guy told Prabhupada that the devotee wanted to write a book and put in the book what Prabhupada thought of Martin Luther King, the guy said, every black person in America will hate us. Why? Why would he make that statement? Well, we can infer pretty much. We don't need to know. Obviously, he said something that would upset the majority of black people in America. We can only guess what he said. And we don't even have to guess, because there's plenty of places in Prabhupada's conversations, letters, lectures, whatever, where he explains exactly what he thinks about black people. And democracy. And women. And children's rights. And little girls. And then these people have the nerve to march in the Martin Luther King Day parade? They got the nerve to go there and try to recruit people? Well, of course he does. Of course they are. Because Prabhupada says we have to claim the black people. We have to claim the Negroes. We need to claim them like they're a commodity. He says, oh, we got some good ones in Detroit. They come to our temple. They're well behaved. This is what he thought of African Americans, of the Negroes, as he called them, in 1977, when nobody's using the word Negro. And his disciples are using the word Negro because he's using the word Negro. And nobody in 1977 was using the word Negro, except maybe some hardcore racists in the South. But even they moved on from Negro to, like, colored. But not Prabhupada. Racist guy. We got fake human. Fake human. Hey, fake human. Good to see you in here. And mental retards. The rest, yes. They are mentally ill. Cults cause mental illness. And so I wanted to show one more video, because I came across these videos and I said, you people that are in the cults, you got to see this stuff. And I know you avoid this stuff, but if you're sticking it out with me, and you're here to seek help, then I got to give you help. And this is gonna give you some help. So you gotta see some of this.
I'm drawn to community. Being in community, building communities that I believe in. I've been a lifelong learner, seeker, total joiner. Brownies, drama club, summer camp. I was raised by fantastic hippie parents who taught me the importance of making the world better. Also bring snacks, be ready for sing-alongs. I'm incredibly organized, I'm a big connector. I've been told I have big cruise director energy. No clipboard today. I was also in a cult for 12 years. And I'm here today to protect you all from the same shit show that I went through. Yeah.
So she's up there speaking in front of this crowd. She was in a cult for 12 years. I was in a cult for 20 years. And I'm not bragging. I'm just, as a point of comparison, I would imagine that I could be up there speaking too, because it is an important thing, and she does want to protect people, and that's why I'm talking here. I want to protect people. She has 12 years experience. You learn a lot in 12 years. I learned a lot in 20 years. A lot more than you can learn in just a year or two. You can go a couple years, you haven't learned anything yet. You're all, hey.
This. My talk is rooted in awareness. I want to help you to navigate all the culty groups out there so that you can seek safely. So, in 2005, I was an aspiring actress/waitress when I was invited to Nexium, a personal and professional development program with a seemingly altruistic mission to change the world one person at a time. Big red flag. And I truly found an incredible community of like-minded humanitarians and a place where I could help people set and achieve goals and bust through their limiting beliefs. It was wonderful. But it was also a facade for something sinister, something that would take over my life slowly.
So that's exactly, the way she described it was exactly like Hare Krishna. Community of like-minded people that are set out to save the world one person at a time. We're going to save these spirit souls. We're on a mission. Everybody needs a book. Everybody needs to get a book. Everybody can chant. And it's just the facade of something very sinister inside. It's very sinister inside, like I've said.
Over a decade with a slow build of coercion, obligation, gaslighting, and control. It wasn't just a highly toxic workplace. This was a high-control group, AKA a cult. But I couldn't see it. There were so many great things about the community clouding my judgment. I rose up the ranks, became one of the company's star recruiters. It was incredible. I thought that I'd found the best club ever. My people, the chosen family, but more importantly, a place where I had community and belonging. Those were things I was looking for ever since I was a little girl. I had actually...
And, I have to say, it just sounds exactly like the feeling you get when you're hanging around the Hare Krishna, you're around the Hare Krishna temple, even if you just go to the restaurant, because you feel like these people, they get it. It's Krishna, and it's chanting, and it feels good, and I'm around people that I like being around people that think the same way. It's so culty, but at the same time, you don't think it's a cult. You're just vibing. You're just trying to experience this vibe, and they want you to feel that vibe. They want you to think that way. It's exactly what they want.
Wandered onto the path of self-reflection and transformation without any tools for navigating or protecting myself. But I was in deep. My actual friends and family saw less and less of me. As I'd spent more money on time and trainings, my worldview got more narrow. My language became coded. I sounded like a Nexium robot. I was on the top of this grifty iceberg, a Nexium pyramid, and it truly haunts me to this day. How many people I brought in, my friends and family, who in turn brought in their friends and family through leveraged trust, till I had grown an organization so big, I could open the first center in Canada, which was something I used to be incredibly proud of.
I feel the same way that she does. It's so amazing every time I hear from different cults, people from different cults, and how the experiences are all the same. It's just a different name and a different, it's like the sales techniques are the same. It's just a different stupid little product. Instead of a cigarette lighter, it's a screwdriver. And instead of a screwdriver, it's a little flashlight. Instead of a flashlight, it's a little nail clipper. Instead of a nail clipper, it doesn't matter what the product is. The techniques are always the same. And it's the same thing with a cult. It doesn't matter if it's this Nexium cult or Hare Krishna, Scientology, Jehovah's Witness, Mormonism, Moonies, Children of God, even this MAGA cult. It's the conditioning and the belonging, the mental illness. It's all the same. It's just always there. They are so identical in so many ways. It just blows my mind. Because I feel like I was in Nexium, or I feel like I was in Jehovah's Witness. I was in Hare Krishna. But just hearing these people talk, I feel like I was in that exact same cult. It's just, when you've been in one, you've been in them all.
Some of those people are still loyal to the cult to this day. It all came to a head when I was invited to a secret Nexium offshoot, a badass boot camp for women only, sold to me as empowerment when it was actually enslavement. Just a way for Keith Raniere, the company's founder, to brand women as if he owned them. Yeah. He also blackmailed many of them into sex. I managed to dodge that bullet. Thankfully, it was the branding that woke me up. I mean, one minute you're selling a goals program, and the next minute you're sweaty and naked on a table being branded in a secret sorority. And it wasn't the moment of the branding itself. Nope, not when I was sliced open without anesthetic. But later, when I found out that the symbol on my body was not that of the 4 elements, as I'd been told, but actually Keith Raniere's initials in a cryptic monogram. Yeah, I had his initials on my body. He literally thought he could own me. He was wrong, and I was out. But yes, thank you.
So I just gotta say, that's pretty weird. That's pretty weird. But Hare Krishnas, they don't, I've never heard of branding, but it's a mental branding, and that mental branding is so intense that these kids that are abused and these women that are being abused, they stay in it. They have Stockholm syndrome. Leaving is not even an option. And a lot of these cults, they have such a grip on people that they don't think people are going to leave. The group that I was in and that I was working with in the Hare Krishnas, they never imagined that I would leave. The way they talked to me, the way they intimidated me, the way they treated me when I was, breaking away, whatever, it showed me that they never, even when I left, my roommate, who was not a Hare Krishna, was living in the building with the other Hare Krishna. He told me that he overheard the Hare Krishnas talking about me, and that they were saying to each other, just give him some time and he's going to come back. Because they honestly don't think that if you've been in for any time and you're chanting and you believe that obviously people leave the Hare Krishnas, but a lot of times they don't leave. They leave the cult, but the cult doesn't leave them. It's still in them. So there's always a chance that they can come back, because they're not really leaving the cult. They're just leaving the community. They're not leaving the cult. They're just leaving the community. They're still in the cult. They're still chanting. They're still doing everything, all the stupid shit. They believe all the stupid shit. They're just separate. So that's what they thought I was going to do. I was just going to separate myself, and there was no way I was going to not be a Hare Krishna. Not after 20 years. Not after 20 years. They didn't think I was going to leave. They have, to them, I was branded. There was this, but the actual, literally branding someone's body is so disgusting. But the Hare Krishna Scientology, they brand your brain. They got you. You don't even think you can leave. You don't even think that leaving is possible. And that's why I'm here to help, because I know how you think. I know how you Hare Krishnas think. You're looking at me like, what is this guy talking about? How did I put it? This Sri Mukunda guy, a lot of the Hare Krishnas, they don't think that Hare Krishna will leave. They had no idea that I would leave. It's just beyond their comprehension. It's like just like they don't think that these kids are going to grow up and then say, hey, my guru molested me. Hey, my mom married me off to some guy in India. Hey, my dad is a total jerk. He doesn't even... They don't think that these kids are going to grow up. They didn't think I was going to leave. As much abuse as I took from these people. And my daughter. They never crossed their minds that I was ever going to leave.
Wait, what happened to me was just the beginning. And when we found out what else was going on behind closed doors, I'm talking crimes ranging from blackmail, forced labor, child pornography, sex trafficking, I was mortified. So I went to the authorities with a band of fellow shocked ex-members, and we blew the proverbial whistle. But they didn't do anything. Fell on deaf ears because they didn't know what they were looking at. So we went to the press. Look, Mom and Dad, I'm on the front page of the New York Times. It's not exactly what I was imagining my life would be when I started out as an actress, but here we are. After that, the rest is cult history. A dramatic arrest in Mexico, a 6-week trial, a 4-hour deliberation, and ultimately, a 120-year prison sentence for NXIVM's founder. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Big win. And just for the record, by all cult expert assessments, Keith Raniere is now known as one of the most dangerous cult leaders of all time. on par with Jim Jones, whose rise to power culminated in the deaths of 900 people, 300 of which were children, for drinking poisoned Flavor Aid, which is where the term drink the Kool-Aid comes from, by the way. And FYI, if they hadn't have drunk it, they would have been shot. It wasn't a choice. We don't use that phrase properly. It's called a bounded choice, coercive control. Needless to say, Keith Raniere was not the noble, humanitarian, ethical genius I thought I was vouching for all those years. Quite the opposite, actually. Nobody signs up for trauma and tragedy on purpose. In fact, a wise man once said, nobody joins a cult on purpose. They join something good.
And, you know, I just want to say, Prabhupada is the same. Prabhupada was not what they tell you he is. He was not this guy that's talking to Krishna. He was not this Vedic scholar. He was not anything that they say. He wasn't the successful chemist, pharmacist. He was none of that. He was no successful publisher of anything. I mean, I published a couple issues of a newspaper back in 1988. A stupid little comedy newspaper thing that went around L.A. that I was trying to sell advertising for it. But, you know, we having fun doing it. And I got a lot of people involved to do it. I wasn't a cult. But I did this. So he put together a Back to Godhead magazine that nobody wanted to buy. I put together a magazine, a newspaper that nobody wanted to buy. I was a successful publisher as Prabhupada. Seriously. What, Back to Godhead magazine? He's a publisher. He wrote some books. The guy is a Hindu version of L. Ron Hubbard. The guy was a Hindu version of L. Ron Hubbard. He took these stories, this mythology, this Hindu mythology, and made a living off of retelling and translating these stories and posing himself as some kind of authority on these stories. He was no authority. He wanted to be some Vedic scholar, He was no Vedic scholar. He didn't even graduate college. He didn't get no diploma. He's got no degree. He's got no doctorate degree in anything. He's got no PhD in anything. He's got no master's degree in anything. He's got no anything in anything. He's as much a Vedic scholar as I am. Vedic scholar. Parampara. There's no unbroken chain of gurus going back 5,000 years or back to Krishna. Krishna, and then the four-headed guy, and then Narada Muni, and then Narada Muni to Madhvacharya, or to Vyasadeva, and then Vyasadeva to Madhvacharya. You really think that happened? You really think that was a chain that went from Krishna's flute to a four-headed guy that's growing out of the flower of a four-armed guy that's laying on a snake that's his brother? And then that four-headed guy told the floating spaceman guy, and then the floating spaceman guy told Vyasadeva, and then Vyasadeva told the elephant-headed guy, and the elephant-headed guy broke off his tusk, and he wrote the shit down? You believe that? and then Vyasadeva told it to Madhvacharya? You know how many years that? You know how many years there are in that space of time? Or do we just pretend like that doesn't exist? Do we just pretend some of it is not real and some of it is literally real? I mean, is Narada Muni really floating in outer space playing a veena or whatever you call it? Just floating in outer space? And he just materializes wherever he wants? Are we really believing that? You're going to tell me that Narada Muni can float around between planets, solar systems, just float through the space like Voyager 1 with his instrument, but we can't land on the moon. Prabhupada believes that there's a friggin' space guy floating around in outer space playing a friggin' sitar, but we couldn't send a rocket to the moon. Even though Prabhupada got on a plane and flew from all around the world, but he didn't think that we could build a rocket that could fly to the moon. Because there's a demon head that eats the moon during a lunar... This is the level of insanity that you are accepting as reality? This is Xenu level shit. That a man can have an atomic bomb in his brain and he can just shoot it at somebody? I mean, that's in the Bhagavatam. You gonna tell me that that's real too? That they could just shoot an atomic bomb at someone? Like a mental nuclear weapon? This is the shit that you believe in? All you wanted to do was chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Save the world by spreading this transcendental knowledge. And here you are believing all kinds of crap, promoting child marriage, and women like to be raped, and women are 9 times lustier than men. What good does preaching that do in the world? Preaching that women do nothing but agitate men, they're the cause of men's problems, better to stay away from women. The only reason you should even get married is just because if you want to have sex. If you can't control your urges, then use a woman. And then when you're done with her, you can just leave her and go be a monk. That's what they're teaching. That's what they're teaching in these books. That you should be a celibate male your whole life. But if you can't, then you can get married and have sex. And then when you're done having sex, just dump the woman and go back to being celibate old man. That's what they're teaching. Oh, and by the way, your wife will be 11 years old. Do you think that teaching that women are less intelligent, women like to be raped, women are 9 times lustier than men? You think that's good? That's a good philosophy? That puts women in a good position? You think women can feel safe living in that community where men are taught that women are the problem, they like to be raped, and they're stupid? I mean, come on, what does less intelligent mean? Can we just stop beating around the bush? They say women are less intelligent. What they really mean is women are stupid. He doesn't want to say women are stupid. But that's what he's saying. Tell me women are stupid without saying women are stupid. Okay, they're less intelligent. This is the fucking cult. This is the cult that you people are in. You treat women like shit. You marry off little girls. You're the worst parents there are because you don't even give a shit about your parents, your kids. You just ship them off to India or to New Taliban or New Vrindavan or New Ramen Reddy or new whatever, new pedophile camp. That's what you do. You don't give a shit about your kids. You just ship them off. You don't even know who's watching your kids. Karmis take better care of their kids than Hare Krishnas do. Karmis teachers are certified. You can't teach kids in California unless you have a license. You got to go to school. You can't even open a daycare without having a license or a preschool. You got to be certified. You got to be inspected. You think that's going on in a Hare Krishna temple? Do you think there's any certified teachers or certified instructors? You think there's any inspections going on? Half the time they're like illegal homeschooling. They shut down most of the Hare Krishna schools because of the kids were being abused, because the kids were being raped and sexually molested and tortured and mentally tortured and physically tortured. You guys are disgusting, man. The more I talk about it, the more I do these videos, the more disgusting I realize that you guys are. Fucking disgusting. With your child marriages and your pedophilia and woman hating and the Negroes are drunkards and the Negroes are ugly and all this stuff. I can barely take it. Drive me crazy. Just thinking that you guys exist, spewing this crap and spreading your books drives me insane. Knowing you guys are out there spreading this crap. Infiltrating the Martin Luther King Day parade. The fuck you doing in the Martin Luther King Day parade? You don't even like blacks. You don't like blacks. You don't like women. You don't like kids. You don't like any of that. But you're going to go march in the Martin Luther King Day parade like we're holier than thou. Fuck you. Marching in the Martin Luther King Day parade. Marching in the gay pride parade. You don't even want homosexuals in your movement, but you're going to go get in their parade. The fuck is that? You can be in our movement as long as you give up being homosexual. Well, obviously you don't want homosexuals then, right? You can be homosexual, but you just can't be homosexual. How much sense does that make? How much sense does that make? You either let them in, they're either homosexual and you let them in, or you don't. It's not like, oh, well, you're homosexual, you can come in, but when you're in, you can't be homosexual. You got to just stop doing that. Well, the heterosexual can come in, and if he wants to have sex, you get him a wife. But I'm a homosexual, and I come in, and I want to have sex. You don't get me a husband or a wife. Why not? Well, because you're a homosexual. And homosexuality is wrong. Well, then why you let me in? If your cult tells me, if your cult teaching say that homosexuality is wrong, and Lord Brahma farted out the homosexuals, and they were demons that wanted to turn around, wanted to have sex with him, he had to go pray to Lord Vishnu, save me from these homosexuals that want to have sex with me. They're demons. That's what you're teaching. Why would I want to join your cult? But they do. I can't explain it. There's gurus in there that are gay. Well, who do you think's raping the little boys? Who do you think molested all those little boys? And the videos of the little boys that are talking about, I got molested in the Gurukula. I got molested. Who do you think was doing that? It's the men. The teachers. Yeah, they're fucking disgusting. Fucking disgusting. It's so disgusting. I get disgusted. I can't see how you guys can stay in there after knowing what's going on. And I'm surprised that more people don't know. It's so easy to find out, and I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not finding fault. I'm just saying. It's just, I don't see anybody else on the internet doing what I'm doing, saying what I'm saying. There's other people there's these kids that are telling their story. Absolutely. And I'm all with them. But I mean actively exposing this crap. The child marriages, all this crap. There should be more. Because the level that this is, there should be 20, 30, 40, 50 of me making these videos. There should be hundreds of these videos every day. Because there's thousands of victims. Thousands of victims. Thousands of kids that lived through this. Thousands of people that have lived through it. Thousands of people just like me that have lived through this. I'm not unique. I'm unique in the fact that I'm doing these videos. But there's hundreds, thousands of people just like me that went through the ringer with this cult. Been through the ringer. And it is so traumatizing. I mean, a lot of people, I've been through a lot. There's a lot of people that have been through more than me. And we all process things differently. So, a lot of people have been through a lot more than me, and I understand if they don't want anything to do with the Hare Krishna. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want anything to do with it. They go back to their life, go back to whatever they were trying to do, whatever they can put the pieces they can put back together. I don't blame anybody for doing what they got to do to get through their trauma. Absolutely. And it is traumatic. I don't care if you spend a day, you spend 1 day, 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It's traumatic. And I'm going to say it again. If you're over 60, look, if you're 70 years old and you've been in this Hare Krishna since you were 18, just give it up. There's nothing I can say that's going to... There's nothing I can say that's going to do it. There's just nothing. You're gone. Your mind is gone. Just keep pushing that shopping cart full of books. I'm talking to you, Brigapati. Just keep pushing that shopping cart full of books around Costco parking lot and the DMV. Because you got no life. You wasted your entire life for this cult. For a cult of lies and bullshit. You wasted your entire life. And this guy Mahatma Das and all of these guys. You just wasted your whole life. You Shodananda, Dhamma Ghosh, Nishringa, Nityananda, Swavas. All these guys. Achintya, Akrita Das. All these guys at the LA Temple. And all around. All these guys. Paran John. Madhupan, all of them. Raghunath, Narada, all these guys. Jayapataka, Radhanath, they all just wasted their lives. Wasted their lives for a bunch of BS. A bunch of BS. They fell for it. And now they're old and they need to just stay in because stay in, but stop molesting kids. You want to be a Hare Krishna, but stop with the crime. Stop with the child marriage. Stop promoting all this crap. That is what's wrong. You want to sit home and chant your life away? Sit home and chant your life away. You don't have to spread this bullshit to everybody you meet. And what's that doing? The fuck is that? You want to sit and waste your life chanting? Sit and chant. But why you gotta promote child marriage? Why you gotta promote women are stupid? Why you gotta say women like to be raped? Why you gotta promote homosexuality as demonic and evil and all of that, and then go chant in the Pride Parade? How dare you? All the stuff that Prabhupada says about homosexuality, and you guys got the nerve to go march around in the gay pride parade. The hypocrisy is just, it's astounding. The arrogance, just everything, every evil thing. Every single evil thing possible, fucking Hare Krishnas are right there. Ugh. Alright, I'm done. I can't take it anymore. I worked myself into another frenzy, and I'm just like sickened with the thought of Hare. This episode, this one, has really turned my stomach, thinking about how disgusting you fucking Hare Krishnas are, with your child marriages and your women are less than, all that stuff. I'm going to go over it again. It's disgusting. Tired of it. So anyway, I'm gonna class is over. Where's my bell? Class is over, and I want to thank everybody for joining in. Fake Human, thanks for coming. Everybody, Rune, and everybody watching on the replay. All the Hare Krishnas that are watching, all the Scientologists that are watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you got a dose of reality. I told you it wasn't going to be pretty, but I kept it pretty cool today. But you guys do disgust me. You Hare Krishnas, Scientologists, you guys are fucking disgusting. The shit you believe and all that crap and what you do, it's all disgusting. So, thanks for joining. I hope you learned something. I hope you get out. Hope you can get out of the cult. And it's time for my commercial. So, here we go. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Like, share, and subscribe, of course. All right. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
I was in the bar for a drink or two. I met a girl named Mary Lou. Her blue jeans were so tight and cut so low. Those jeans were stretched across her butt. On a belt she wore a rabbit's foot, and I couldn't help but see her camel toe. Mary Lou had a camel toe.
Means that. และกลับเข้าสู่ My Mental Time btk1radio.com Whatever, I'll do what I want.
You're listening to Mike's Madhouse on btk1radio.com.
Worried about God. I'm afraid of what he might do if anything should happen to me.
God, but he's a robot. Without you, what could he do?
There's no limit to what he could do. He could destroy the earth. If anything should happen to me, you must go to God. You must say these words.
Dumalang, video Susie and ready to Mike's Madhouse, more BKK1Radio.com.
And now it's time for the Dumb American on Mike's Madhouse.
Back to dope tunes and stupid talk with White Boy Mike on Mike's Madhouse.
you